Inside New Orleans Sports is underwritten by the Union Capital Corporation and Natal's Air Conditioning.
Good evening, New Orleans, and welcome to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher, and over the next hour, we'll talk about the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans, the LSU Tigers, the Tulane Green Wave, and so much more. Got a great guest for you tonight, Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports, and former New Orleans Saint great, Tyrone Hughes. Guys, welcome. Thanks so much for being with us. And we'll start with you, Garland. First of all, tell us a little bit about what's happening at Fox 8, what you guys got going.
Well, you know, it's Saints heavy week, Saints Cowboys. Saints after a tough loss last week against the New York Jets. Tonight we got Saints game plan at 10:35. We're going to talk all Saints Cowboys matchup, and Jennifer Hale, Sean Fazan, and I. And then this weekend, just, you know, heavy Saints Cowboys. I'm going to be headed to Tuscaloosa tomorrow morning for LSU Alabama. So I got a long weekend. I got LSU Bama on Saturday, and then got the Cowboys Saints on Sunday. So it's going to be a fun weekend of football.
I'll tell you what, a great weekend of football. There's no doubt about that. And Tyrone Hughes, former New Orleans Saint great. And Tyrone, you know, one of the things that you and I did a radio show together for about a year, and I always love to highlight your great times in New Orleans Saints. Still a record holder in the NFL and with the New Orleans Saints. Talk about that.
Well, I don't know about the New Orleans Saints. I think Michael Lewis may have taken a lot of those records down. You know, he had 6 years. I did mine in 4. So, you know, he had 2 more years. But no, I still have the current NFL record. I am the current NFL record holder for most kickoff returns in a single game, which was 304, and then the combined kickoff and punt return yards, which was 347. So I'm proud of that.
Yeah, as I believe.
It was a busy day.
I bet it was. You didn't get any extra pay for that, did you?
No, I didn't. I should have got a bonus for it.
Yeah, some kind of bonus, right? Guys, you know, a little disappointing loss last week, obviously going up to New York with the Jets, and Saints seem to be you know, again, one of the things I talked about on my radio show was we shouldn't have been surprised by what happened, because I think all year long we've seen the inability of this team to be able to run the football, and also the inability of this team to really stop the run. But this team was out physical on Sunday. We'll start with you, Garland. Your thoughts on where this team is and really how they performed against the Jets.
Yeah, was in the locker room yesterday, and Zach Street, Pierre Thomas, they kept saying the same thing over. They got to get back to the run. They got back to the run. Now, Darren Sproles getting knocked out on the first play from scrimmage with a concussion. I'm definitely probably hurt the balance of the game, you know, coming out the backfield, getting screen passes. So the run game might have been affected a little, but they brought Mark Ingram in there for a reason. To pound the ball, and they only had 41 yards rushing. They just didn't get it done on running the ball. And I know you got Drew Brees, so you can throw it 50 times a game and be fine with it. But sooner or later, it's going to catch up with them. Right now, it's 6-2. The Jets' defensive line, it's one of the best in the NFL, top 5 in the NFL. That offensive line right now for the Saints is definitely having a rough year. Del Puente, that hold on the final drive, I thought that they maybe could get down the field quickly and score, but Del Puente kind of hurt him on that. So right now, they got to improve on the offensive line. They got to get the run game going, which is obviously an offensive line thing. Zach Streif got pounded nonstop by the television media, the print media. He was talking to the media for like 30 minutes straight yesterday about getting back to the run game. So they get that intact. I'm not worried about this defense right now. Maybe this week, maybe a little more than last week. You know, Tony Romo's a little better than Geno Smith, just a tad better. But I think if the offense gets back on track, I think they have it this week against the Dallas Cowboys.
What's your take, Tyrone?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Saints got beat. It's point blank. They got beat. Everybody wants to know what's wrong with it. Nothing's wrong with the Saints. They got beat. The Jets was a better team. If you look at that Buffalo game, and this is one thing where I think you're talking about the offensive line, that front four of Buffalo is probably, I would say, one of the best in the NFL, if not the best. They don't have a great secondary, but that front four causes havoc. You look at the New England Patriots game, they had trouble against those guys. You come back, the Jets did an excellent job of just beating up and being physical with that offensive line, and they did an excellent job defensively. I think the one thing that I was really surprised about is the fact that I think in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken, the Saints didn't run the ball one time, or maybe once or twice, if that. So either Sean Payton came into the game thinking we couldn't run the ball, or saw something where they felt they could throw the ball on them. But they never even established the run in the first quarter, and the Jets just really laid it down on them. And when you come back out and you look at a lot of the drop passes, what happened, what were the Jets doing to the Saints, to Drew Brees defensively, to where you had to call 3 timeouts, and after each timeout you came back with a delay of game. So they were really giving the Saints offense problems.
Guys, when you start talking about the Saints and the offensive line itself, again, really they're in a tough spot right now. Really, when you start looking at the physicality, they got out-physical by the Jets. I'll take you, Garland, first. They got a tough stretch coming up. With teams that are very, very physical.
Extremely physical.
Your thoughts on what they can do going forward? It's hard to mask those deficiencies at this point.
Yeah, this week I think they get a break with the Cowboys. I think they're not physical, but going down the line, the Niners, Carolina Panthers twice. They got Carolina twice on the schedule. Those are some tough teams going forward. I think this week against the Cowboys, you could see a shootout. You could see possibly a 40-30 game, which I no doubt I think is going to happen. I don't know what the over-under is. I guarantee it's in the 50s this week. But going forward, going against the Niners, that's one of the best defenses in the league. And then I know Atlanta, it's going to be a nice little, I know it's going to be a short week, but the Falcons are not who we thought they were. But then after that, you got Carolina twice toward the end. And I can't wait to see what happens with Carolina and the Niners on Sunday. That's at 3:15 game and going right into Sunday Night Football with the Saints. So it's going to be an interesting NFC South, what's going to be going forward, watching Carolina before the Saints.
And I've talked about it, really tough stretch when you look at it, and coming off a very physical Seattle team on a Monday night. You have to turn around, you have to play Carolina on a short week, and then you've got to play Carolina 2 weeks later. So, I mean, really physical stretch for this team, on a team that right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball, has been out-physicaled. Is there any way, Tyrone, you've played the game, is there any way to mask those deficiencies at this point?
But again, it's not anything that's new to the Saints. I mean, they've never really been a physical team. You go back to the Super Bowl year, you know, it wasn't that they were physical, they were causing turnovers. Darren Sharper was there, you know, they were getting picks. That was the thing that helped them turn that defense around. I think they've been more physical early on this year defensively than what we've ever seen them, even with Greg Williams there. And as far as the defensive side of the ball, I think one thing that you've seen and that I've always said, the way to expose the Saints is you put pressure on those receivers, press them at the line of scrimmage, take that timing away from Drew Brees, because when he has to hold the ball, that's when he gets those sacks. That's when that's when the offense doesn't move or is not able to move the ball down the field. So it's not about just the physicality. They're a finesse offense. It's mainly about stopping, if you get pressure or press those receivers, when they're not there, when Drew makes his steps or is ready to throw the ball, that's when the Saints' timing is thrown off, and that's when you see a lot of things go wrong with the offense. But if their timing is there, and I don't see the Cowboys really being able to put that pressure on them like the Jets did. Again, it's all about matchups in the NFL, regardless of what a team's record is. It's about matchups. I don't care how physical you are. If you're able to match up against that team, then you're going to be successful with them. If you can't, then you're going to see what happens. Same thing happened against the Jets.
Kyrie Robinson sits last week. Mark Ingram gets an opportunity to play. It wasn't a bad game for Ingram, but again, I go back to that 4th and inches. I got to believe if Kyrie Robinson is available, they're going to utilize him and try to use him to get that first down. Instead, they went finesse. They tried to do trickery. What do you think the future of Ingram is in this offense now, considering, again, you've got a pretty healthy backfield, with the exception of Sproles, who's practicing now after that concussion?
Yeah, and that's the main reason they got rid of Chris Ivory, is because they had a loaded backfield. They've been mining gold here with these free agent acquisitions with Pierre Thomas over the years and Kyrie Robinson. Talking about the Jets, they had 3rd and inches and 4th and inches. You activate Mark Ingram for a reason. I know that Jed Collins dropped the ball and had possibly gone for a lot of yardage, but you brought him in there for a reason. I know it didn't work in Tampa, but give it another shot. Yeah, Drew Brees could have got that. He's one of the most athletic players on that offense. I've seen him dunk the ball. He played basketball. He played tennis as a kid. He can get that. He can get those inches. I just believe that they got all these running backs. They need to use them. Ingram, I think that they're going to bring him back for training camp next year, just because you just never know what's what's going to happen with all these running backs. NFL is a hard life. Obviously, we saw it with Sproles, even though he's back this week. But you can never have too many of them. I don't know what the future is for Travaris Cadet. He's been activated, inactive. I mean, he scored a touchdown.
But a great special teams player. He's kind of taken on the role of kind of a Courtney Roby, a guy that really covers the punts and kicks, and that's kind of been his forte with the team. And maybe a guy that in a pinch you need him to be able to run the football. Then he runs the football, but kind of has been that special teams mode.
Yeah, and I definitely like what Cadet's doing. Scored his first touchdown against the Patriots, so you definitely keep him around. So I think all the running backs come back next year. I know Saints fans have been all over Mark Ingram this entire season for the toe injury, for what happened at the beginning of the year in the Tampa Bay game. But I think you got to keep running him out there and keep pounding him in there. Maybe activate both of them this week, Kyrie Robinson and Mark Ingram. Especially, I guess Sproles will probably be back this week, but you never know with these injuries.
Tyrone, your thoughts on the running game? Your thoughts on Ingram and what they had really high hopes for this guy when they drafted him out of Alabama. Just hasn't really panned out for him, and I think a lot of it's the system.
Well, first of all, let me say this, and I don't know what it is with NFL coaches that they're afraid to call a quarterback sneak, whether it's on the goal line, whether it's 4th and inches. My whole thought process is, at 4th and 1 or less, you always go for the quarterback sneak, because any forward momentum is going to get you. The referees are going to give you the first down. Why would you ever go, whether it's to the fullback, the running back, or a reverse, whether it worked or not? I still thought it was a crazy call. Surprising call that Sean did it. I really thought they would have gone and tried to draw him off sides, if not run the quarterback sneak, or maybe just call a timeout. But that 3rd and 1 and the 4th and inches, I mean, you got to go with the quarterback sneak. Drew is an athlete. Put the ball in his hand. All he has to do is fall forward. I mean, he can get it done. As it pertains to Mark Ingram, everybody has been down on Mark Ingram not doing what they expected him to do because of where he was drafted. You have to have an understanding that Sean Payton drafted Mark Ingram because they wanted, so supposedly, after the Super Bowl season, seeing how they were supposed to be balanced, they wanted to run the ball. But I knew it wasn't going to happen. You're not going to, after you've had over 4,000 yards in passing per season, you're not running the ball. Not consistently, not to where you need Mark Ingram to be effective. Mark Ingram is not Pierre Thomas, where you can pull him in and put him out. He's not Darren Sproles, where he can be a situational running back. He's an Adrian Peterson type running back. He's a Chris Ivory type running back. Give him the ball consistently. Let him get into a rhythm. Then you will see the effectiveness of Mark Ingram. You're not going to see that in Sean Payton's offense.
I would agree. You're never going to see that.
You're never going to see it.
And again, the short passing game is obviously an extension of the running game. You're in a situation now with the Saints where, when you look at when he was drafted, and I would agree with you to some point, but I think it was also a knee-jerk reaction to all the injuries they had in the playoffs that year. They felt like they needed to get a stable of running backs. They didn't want to get caught again with having to go out on the street and bring a running back in. It just honestly hasn't worked out up to this point. When you look at the passing game right now, there's been a lot of talk about the receiver's inability to get off of jams. This is a timing offense. You add a caveat to that now, that the fact that Breeze is having to run for his life a lot. It's a timing offense. When you get him into a situation where he's not able to climb that pocket and be able to go through his progressions, it hurts the passing game. When he has to roll out in a lot of cases, trying to be able to make time to get away from defenders, it cuts off half the field. Talk about this passing game, Garland, where they are right now. We've seen some young players, obviously, in Tune and Stills, that in some cases there's still some growing pains there. Where do you think the Saints are in terms of their passing game, specifically with their receivers?
Yeah, well, Marcus Colston wasn't there last week. That really hurt the team. Nick Tune, I don't know what it was, maybe playing in his dad's playing against his dad's former team. He had an awful game. Ball was right in his hands, and he just dove for it. I don't understand on that one. And the other play, you got to get your head up the whole time. He was the main reason for that interception that Cromartie had. You got to turn your head quicker and just volleyball the ball up right to for an interception. But you're dealing with two rookies. I know that Tune is a second-year player, but last year was like a redshirt year because he was injured. Jimmy Graham obviously is still not 100%. Last week in the locker room, he wouldn't go as far as how much pain he's playing in. He didn't want to give. He said that was between him and his doctor. I understand that. He kind of laughed about it, but you know he's in pain right now. So Jimmy Graham's in pain. Now Colston is going to be back this week. He's practiced full this week so far. That's a huge deal. Lance Moore missed some time early in the year. You could see he was getting back in the flow, but it really hurt not having Colston out there because then they relied heavily on Lance Moore and Jimmy Graham, and they were getting worked on by the Jets. So they'd go at Stills and Toon, and Toon had a rough one. You know, those are the kind of games you just throw away. You throw away the tape and move on.
You've been in timing offenses before. I mean, how much is it, the disruption that's going on with the offensive line?
Well, and like I said, in that offense, because of Drew's height, it has to be he hits his steps, the ball is out, the receivers are coming out of their routes, catching the ball. When they're getting pressed, and then one thing I think teams are starting to notice, and I've noticed this ever since the Miami game of the Super Bowl year, where they kind of exposed that and saying, okay, hey, look, we're going to press these receivers, take them off of the ball, and even in the Dallas game that year, you know, if you start pressing these receivers, because I think teams understand, Marcus Colston isn't going to run by me. Jimmy Graham isn't going to run by me. Lance Moore isn't going to run by me. But those are the core guys on the inside that Drew looks for. Even the years when you had Meacham and Henderson, you had the speed out there, but it was very seldom that Sean's going to call deep pattern. You may see a post pattern once or twice a game or a deep route once or twice a game just to keep everybody honest. But Drew's main guys and the guys he feel comfortable with is going to be Sproles, Graham, Colston, and Lance Moore when they're all healthy. I don't think any of them have, since they've come in the league, has really played a whole season, you know, together. And so now it's like Drew has to find out of Stills and Toons who's the next guys that's going to step up that I can go to and be comfortable with. I mean, you see a lot of passes, forced passes to Jimmy Graham because he just knows 9 times out of 10, if I throw it anywhere around him, he's going to go up and catch it. And same thing with Colston. However, when that's not happening, or when you try to do it with these other guys and they don't do it, then it's like, well, you know what? I can't throw it to him anymore.
Well, Lance Moore has been kind of a security blanket as well. When he returned, you could see that helped, obviously, the passing offense a little bit more. Guys, penalties, unforced errors. It's something we saw over and over again last year. It's something that we thought would be corrected this year with Peyton coming in. Even after the victory against Buffalo, Peyton kind of berated the team, talking about that this will come back to bite us. It did come back to bite him against the New York Jets. Garland, you're in the locker room every day. What's the mood there? I mean, I know they want to clean it up, but again, the fact is that right now they're an undisciplined team.
Right. And Tyrone played at St. Aug. He played in college, played in the pros. I'm sure he can never remember a team calling 3 timeouts in the first quarter.
That's what I said, and it didn't make sense because that just basically told me that the defense was doing something to make them call those timeouts. That's uncharacteristic for Drew. But then after you came out of those timeouts, you get a delay of game.
Yeah, that's almost like a Les Miles problem there.
That's a little bit later on in the show.
I cover LSU and the Saints, and that's kind of Les Miles calls a timeout and then comes out of a timeout and has a delayed game. Those kind of things when you want to pull your hair out. I guess the pressure, as Tyrone alluded to, the pressure that defense was running on them just wreaked havoc on that offensive line, and Drew saw problems with it. That's why he called the timeouts. But that offensive line is not the line of 2009. Obviously, they've let some guys go, and Bushrod and Goody went to San Francisco. Obviously, Carl Nix, since he's been in Tampa, has been kind of a bust, but that's been because of other reasons.
Because of the injury.
Yeah, injury. The virus that he got, and
the staph infection.
Yeah, you know what's amazing? All these guys that do leave, though, don't have success.
They don't.
Leave. But when they keep them there, they're fantastic for the Saints. But when they go somewhere else, now Goody.
It's almost like a voodoo curse.
You really can't recall. It's tough.
Well,
to
look
recall.
at Charles Bentley. He goes to Cleveland. Same thing. Staph infection. The knee injury.
Yeah.
And never played again. I mean, it is. You're right. With the exception of Goodwin, who has had a great career at San Francisco since he's left.
Yeah, and the offensive line is just not what it used to be. Del Puente had a rough game. Ben Grubbs he got a big contract, and I don't think he's lived up to it right now. He's had a lot of problems this season and a lot of problems against the Jets. That's one of the signings right now that doesn't look too good right now on the line.
504-866-3200. This is a live show. You're always invited to give us a call to give your opinions or questions. Again, Tyrone Hughes, former New Orleans Saints great. Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports, our guest tonight. Guys, defensively, this team has played very, very well. Better than I think anybody could have expected going into this season. But Tyrone, they've had problems stopping the run, especially off tackle. You played in the defensive side of the ball in the NFL. What are you seeing? What are you seeing on film? What are you seeing on why they're having problems?
Only this. Well, I can't say only this game, but again, historically, even going back to the Super Bowl years, this team has gotten gashed on the run. I think this year has been a surprise because you still have the same personnel that you had last year that gave up the NFL record-setting yardage, but yet you're in a different system where you have guys who are looking great as Gillette and Cam Jordan being excellent guys as far as rushers, which I knew they would be, and especially coming off saying that they're basically at at least being a defensive end, outside linebacker position, that they're rushing off of that. The thing I want to see is when you start getting a team consistently sending that back out of the backfield, and now these guys have to cover them. That's what I'm waiting to find out. But again, this defense, you missed some tackles and missed a bunch of tackles, was out of position against the New York Jets. I don't think it's going to happen again. They're going to correct it. Rob Ryan's going to do a hell of a job. But from what I've seen so far this year, like you said, everybody has been surprised that they're even as good as they are. I think they'll get it corrected and be back on track.
I think these free agent acquisitions and in the draft have really helped this defense. Keenan Lewis was a fantastic pickup for that defense. Obviously you could say the MVP pickup has been Rob Ryan after what Steve Spagnuolo did with that D last season. But Kenny Vaccaro has been, I know it was between Kenny Vaccaro and Jarvis Jones. That's what the fans wanted Jarvis Jones.
Agreed.
Well, guess what? He's sitting on the bench right now with the Steelers. He's been benched. He started. He's been benched. So Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton and that crew hit that one perfectly with Kenny Vaccaro. He's been a fantastic pickup for him. And this week, you're going to see the difference between last year and this year. Last year, Patrick Robinson covered Dez Bryant in over 200 yards receiving.
Oh, yeah.
This year, though Sean Payton and Keenan Lewis haven't said this yet, but you would think that Keenan Lewis is going to be guarding Dez Bryant on Sunday night. This is going to be a total different situation than last year. Keenan Lewis has a lot of height on Dez Bryant, and last year P-Rob is under 6 foot tall. I think that Dez Bryant is not going to have the game that he had last year. I know that's not a stretch, but I think he has under 100 yards receiving because I think Keenan's going to shut him down this week.
And they get Roman Harper back. He practiced full today. We don't know what's going to happen with Malcolm Jenkins if they'll hold him out for another week. But again, defensively, they played much better. And look, we've talked about it, guys. They didn't know they had these guys. They didn't know they had these undrafted free agents that have done so well in the defensive line. Hawthorne is playing like people thought he was when he was coming from Seattle. Lofton is, again, when you look inside the box, one of the best linebackers out there. Jonathan Vilma's gone now, but again, you saw that he just didn't have it last week. He just didn't. So, defensively, really, if you look at it, the only weak spot on this team right now from a defensive standpoint is, again, stopping the run and really off tackle. And maybe the lack of safeties last week had a lot to do with that.
But they've done a good job, I think, over the last couple of games, other than the Jets game, of really stopping the run. And I think that's been one of the biggest problems that the defense has had because they've been so geared on stopping the run. You've seen a lot of these seams open up, and the teams have been able to complete passes over the middle because the linebackers aren't dropping where they're supposed to be because the minute they see play action, they're trying to hit those holes. And I think one of the biggest problems is, as you saw, again, with Vilma, in that Jets game, if the guards come off on those linebackers, those guys can't get off the blocks. So I think they're trying to hit those holes before those guards are able to come off, and that's leaving those safeties and corners out.
Right. 504-866-3200. Let's head to the phone lines. Tyree is in Marrero. Tyree, welcome. You're on Inside New Orleans Sports. Our panel tonight, Tyrone Hughes, former New Orleans Saint, and of course, Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports. Welcome.
Hi.
Your question?
Will Darren Sproles be starting this week?
Thank you for the question, Tyree, from Marrero. You were at camp today. He's practicing full now.
Yes, yeah. Yesterday we saw him in the locker room. He's going full. The concussion, he got cleared. He got all the tests. So Darren Sproles will probably be that first guy out there, either him or I say first guy out there. You don't know if it's going to be Pierre, it's going to be Mark Ingram, or Darren Sproles. It depends what package they're going to run out there. But yeah, Sproles is going to be back this week, so it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be inactive. Do they go back to Kyrie Robinson this week? And
gosh, I hope not. I mean, I hope they go with him. I hope they don't have him inactive again.
Yeah, I know I said earlier in the show, are they going to keep 5 running backs out there, 4 running backs out there? So it's going to be a choice between Kyrie and Mark Ingram, who's going to be the last active running back. But yeah, Darren Sproles will go this week, and I think the offense will look totally different this week with Darren Sproles back in there the entire game. And like I said before, the Jets defense and the Cowboys defense are completely different. Cowboys is on the bottom end of the league. The Jets defense is on the top. Monty Kiffin, his defensive scheme is not working. It's almost like last year with Spagnuolo's scheme. This year, Kiffin's scheme is just not working in Dallas.
Now, Tyrone, you had a great kicker when you played for the New Orleans Saints, a guy named Morton Anderson. So really,
that we got rid of.
Yeah.
That we got rid of.
You didn't have to worry about who was out there kicking until Morton ended up in Atlanta. Your thoughts on Garrett Hartley? He inconsistent.
He's been, as of the last couple of games, again, kickers go through spurts, and I think it's more about confidence than anything. Once he missed, I think he was doing pretty good. Once he missed was it the New England game, I think it was, missed a field goal or so.
He missed 3 in a row after that.
Yeah, then he missed 3 in a row. So then that mindset comes in, and, actually, what do you think, or what would I tell Garrett Hartley if he was my player? Would I believe in him? And my answer would be yes, I would believe him, because I have to tell him that, because he needs to have that confidence that the coaches and the players have confidence in him.
But do you believe in him?
I don't. In my heart and my mind, no. But I would tell him I do. Because understand, though, if a kicker, you can bring kickers in, but if he's not in the league already, 9 times out of 10, he's not that good. You can kick all day long in workouts and do great, but it's totally different in a game atmosphere or in a pressure situation. He hit that 55-yarder after missing those 2 kicks, and so that showed a lot on Sean to put him back out there in that situation as opposed to punting or trying to go for it. So, I mean, he stepped up for it. Is he inconsistent? Yes, that's something he's going to have to correct.
Garland?
Yeah, Greg McMahon wanted to put the punt team out there, and Sean Payton pulled him back and put Hartley out there. And I read into it, and my own personal thoughts was that Sean was putting him out there with a 55-yarder, and that was going to show him right then and there. Did he lose this guy? Is he going to make this kick? Or do we need to bring somebody in to do tryouts on Tuesday on the off day? I think Sean was testing Garrett right there on that kick because he already missed one in that game. He missed 2 the week before against Buffalo, and he wanted to see what he had. But you're right. I don't know if anybody on the street, John Carney's too old. He ain't coming back. Okay, he's done. I know they've used that before, but Garrett Hartley is the guy right now, I think. The 55-yarder in the win in MetLife Stadium, I think, showed that going forward, he's your guy. But, I guess these guys, they have these ups and downs. Not everybody can be Nick Folk or the New York Jets and not miss them.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, he hasn't missed one all year.
Anderson.
Yeah, that's right. Guys, quickly before we go to break, Saints take on the Cowboys in the Dome Sunday night. Dome's always rocking when it's a nighttime game. Saints hard to defeat when you play them on national TV on a nighttime game. I'll go to you first. What are your thoughts on this game? Do the Saints come out with a win?
Yeah, they've won 11 games in a row at nighttime. The fans are a little more alcohol charge possibly, or your drink of choice or whatever. I just think that the Saints are going to recover. I think the Cowboys, this isn't 2009 on Saturday night. I think the Cowboys are a different team than that team in 2009. I just think that the Saints are going to win by 10 points in this game. I think the fans are going to go crazy, and they're going to get back on track. And they got to get back on track because the Niners are coming in next week, and then it just starts getting crazy after that.
You've been in that dome. You've been on those sidelines. You've heard that crowd on a Monday night, or when it wasn't Sunday night back then, but Monday night. First of all, what's it like, and what do you think going on?
I mean, it's a great feeling. Anytime you play at home in the Dome, it's a great feeling because those fans are definitely rowdy and crazy. Now, I played in the Cowboy Stadium, and those fans are going to be just as loud and probably have as many fans in the Dome, or as many as they can fit, because they definitely get a good following. But I look at the Saints defense stepping up this week. They have a point to prove. I don't see the running game being as effective as the Giants game was. Tony Romo is going to be Tony Romo. Mm-hmm. Dez Bryant is going to do his thing, but Tony's going to give you a pick here and there somewhere in the game, and they just have to make sure they capitalize on it. And I think it's going to be not a close game, but not a high-scoring game. I got them going 25-17.
Before we head to break, let's head back to the phone lines, 866-3200. Let's head to New Orleans for Owen. Owen, welcome to Inside New Orleans Sports. How are you, Owen? Welcome.
All right, how you doing?
Doing great.
I want to know when Marcus Colston coming back.
So far on the practice reports, he's coming back. He's not out. Only 3 guys were injured today, and he wasn't one of them. So I would think Colston's back. And in the Dome, he usually has a great game. I think Colston's back, and Nick Toon might be on the bench this week if Colston's back.
Yeah, more than likely. Your thoughts on Colston, how he's played so far this year?
He's always been the man. He's Drew's bailout. I mean, when we talked about it, Drew's contract year, do you let Colston go or do you let Nix go? I mean, and I always said you got to keep Colston because I know in Drew's mind that if he ever needs to just throw the ball up in the air, Colston and Graham are the 2 guys that's going to go get it, and he can feel confident that they will. And they have, and they've shown that and proven it. Again, it's just a matter of can he stay healthy a whole season.
You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports. We got a great panel for you tonight. Former New Orleans Saint great Tyrone Hughes and Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports. I'm Eric Asher. I'm your host. We do this each and every Thursday, 6 to 7, live here on WLAE TV with a rebroadcast on Friday nights, 10 to 11. When we come back, we'll talk Pelicans, we'll talk Tulane and LSU. So stick around, New Orleans. You're watching Inside New Orleans Sports.
Inside New Orleans Sports is underwritten by the Union Capital Corporation and the Talls Air Conditioning.
My name's Reggie. Just recently, my wife and I took in her sister's children. Now, we already had 4, so I went from becoming a family man to a man with a bigger family. Now, you can't eat love, so I don't know how I'm gonna feed them tonight. How was that, Rich?
I think I look more like Denzel.
That's cold, man.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
In the search for beautiful people, music that moves, and real culture, America, there's only one LA Coast. Go Coast, Louisiana delivers the treasures of the Gulf fresh to you.
I think we need a bigger boat.
Sundays at 8:30 p.m. on LAE.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm Eric Asher, along with Garland Gillen of Fox 8 Sports and former New Orleans Saints great Tyrone Hughes. Before we switch gears and go to the collegiate game, and we'll talk a little bit about the Pelicans before we get out of here this evening, let's head back to the phone lines at 504-866-3200. Let's go to Metairie and Logan. Logan, welcome. You're on Inside New Orleans Sports.
Hey, guys. I really appreciate you getting in and letting me ask this question, and it's really for all 3 of you, and I hope to get an answer from all 3. The speed of the offense is really, in my opinion, an opportunity. Every game you see them taking it all the way down to the last second before snapping the ball, getting the plays in, which really is just a bit sloppy and just doesn't seem like all the rest of the NFL teams out there are playing that way. It just seems to be taking long to get the plays in, and you don't see that confidence. So that's my question. What do you guys think?
Logan, thank you for the call. Garland, we'll go with you first. This is Peyton's first year back. He said he's been a little slow in getting the play calls in. What are you hearing when you're at camp? What are you seeing when you're watching the game?
Well, first off, this is the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they just go back into the huddle and then they go right out. Actually, they don't even huddle.
Yeah.
The clock's at 40 and they're already ready to snap the ball again. Maybe it's just the process of Drew Brees is reading the defenses, taking him a little longer to read the defenses. He's got some new personnel out there. I mean, I know Meacham was there before, but you got Kenny Stills, you got Toon, you got guys you never worked with before. So maybe he's trying to get more of a feel of what the defense is giving him, and it's taking longer. But I don't know if I would call it sloppy. Maybe Sean. I think the rust with Sean is gone now. I think he. I don't think he's rusty anymore. And I know he's getting a lot of heat for the play call on fourth and inches, but they worked on that play all week. So this wasn't like they just put this together. They're making up plays, on the fly.
In the sand.
Right. That play, Drew and Sean in the post-game press conference said they've been working on that play all week. So the game plan's there. I don't know. I'm not going to put this one on Sean that the clock's going out low.
God, you got to wonder though about Josh Hill, though, right? What's the mindset of allowing Josh Hill to be able to get it on an end around? Come on, Tyrone, huh?
I mean, he couldn't even shake the guy that was the defensive lineman. I don't know. I don't know. Sean, I think he just outguessed himself that one. I mean, regardless, like I said, even if it would have worked, I would have thought this was a crazy play because, again, I'm not a fan of going back, when you only have a yard or less to go forward. And quarterback sneak is my thing all the time. But when you look at this offense, again, it's nothing wrong with the offense. I don't think there's anything wrong with Sean's play calling until it gets inside of 2-3 minutes. When you got to kill a game against the Patriots, you give them back the ball 3 times. And, I posted on my Facebook page, hey, Rob Ryan, go down and slap the hell out of the offensive coordinator for giving away that game. And it wasn't on the defense. But then I said, I forgot that was the head coach. Yeah. So, but no, Sean has done an excellent job, obviously. I think it's just some problems that, again, the Jets get paid also, folks. So they came in with a game plan. I mean, when you're coaching in the NFL or on any level, it's a chess game. You trying to match moves for moves, players for players, and I think whatever the Jets came in with gave Drew a lot of problems as far as protection-wise, and that's one of the things as a quarterback, when you see him pointing out, they're basically saying, okay, in this protection, so-and-so is number 54 is Mike, and so the linemen have a certain protection, meaning, okay, we're going to take the 2 guys to that side, and we'll take the 2 guys to this side. Center, hey, you got Mike, or the back may be staying in to have the Mike guy, or he may be out. So when you guys are constantly changing and switching and not just standing up, and so now Drew has to wait to figure out who am I going to designate as the Mike linebacker. Now that clock is constantly running, which he knows in his head, but he's trying to get the protection right so he doesn't get hit and sacked. And that was really causing him a problem. The only thing I didn't understand is after you done call timeout, you come back out and get a delay of game. That's really uncharacteristic of this team. Yep,
no doubt. Let's shift gears and let's talk a little bit about the LSU Tigers. Before we do that, let's talk about Nick Saban. Of course, once again, the rumors are flying around that Saban may be leaving Alabama. There was obviously a report yesterday that came out which was vehemently denied by Saban that Texas had an interest and maybe Saban had an interest in Texas. Of course, he comes out and says he's happy at Alabama. Immediately, I start thinking, well, better back up the moving vans because I heard that at LSU. I heard that at Miami. But, Garland, we'll go with you first. What are your thoughts on Saban and the possibility of him leaving the University of Alabama for Texas?
I say 0% for Texas. I still think that he has an itch that needs to be scratched in the NFL. Maybe a big-time job coming, I don't know, maybe the Dallas Cowboys if Jason Garrett goes in the tank this year. He's making $5.5 million already this year. How much more money does he need? Tuscaloosa real estate is not that expensive, so I guarantee he's keeping a lot of that money right now. He's got a company car. He's got a big-time Mercedes. I've seen it before. So he's making $5.5 million a year. He gets kicked in bonuses for winning national titles. If they get through LSU, they win the SEC championship game and win the BCS, it's 3 national titles in a row. That's 3 in 4 years for him, and that would be 5 overall. What else does he have to accomplish in the college game? I know that you can say Texas would be another project that it's a fertile recruiting ground, but guess what? He's mining Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. He's killing it on the Gulf Coast in recruiting. I think this is the end of the road for him in the college game. He's in his 60s. I'm sure Terry Saban, his wife, is very comfortable in Tuscaloosa. Dallas or one of those big-time pro jobs, the only place he would go to just to make a wrong a right. I know he regrets what happened with the Dolphins there, and he wants to go out with a winning record in the NFL.
Tyrone?
Well, one thing I think about is Nick Saban and Coach Kelly, I think, is learning now in the NFL is that when you're in college, you're able to go and get the #1 player from every state when you're at a program, a winning program, such as Alabama. And really and truly, you don't even have to recruit them because the kids want to come there. So it's not hard to get the top players. When you're in the NFL, you get 1 first-round pick, that top guy. That's it. And I think Chip Kelly is learning that now, that I don't have a team of #1 players like I did in Oregon. Or I can't go just pick the #1 player like I did in Oregon. It's a process to go through. I have to actually coach these kids and train them and develop them. Whereas in college, you got those top guys that it's not too hard, or you're not doing too much coaching with the talent that you have. And when you have that talent on a college level, it's not much you have to do against other teams.
Do you think Saban is intrigued by the Texas job and will ultimately go there?
I don't see why he would be. To me, you in the SEC, you in the top conference, you are the top dog. You got to knock me off of that pedestal before I'm going to leave. And that's my only outlook on why would I want to go to Texas, although even if I'm in Texas, I could start a whole new program and do the recruiting or whatever. But I mean, I want to be in the SEC. I want everybody coming for me. I've established myself. I'm one of the top coaches, probably the top coach in the country on the college level. So I don't see why he would.
You know, a lot of fans, especially for LSU fans, are concerned about this game on Saturday night, on how it will affect recruiting. You know, a lot of things at stake for LSU. This is an incredible class coming out of Louisiana this year. It will be a big problem for Les Miles if he doesn't get most of that class to be able to commit to LSU. What are your thoughts? You're around high school all the time, Garland. You're covering high school. You're covering St. Aug with Leonard Fournette. What are your thoughts on how big this game is to recruiting? And will this game make a difference in the mind of a recruit in your mind?
With Leonard Fournette, you know, they recruited 4 running backs last year to Alabama, and LSU had 0. And Les Miles in the signing day press conference said that you can never say a player's name when they're in high school. You can maybe say, you know, we knew what he was saying, but he goes, I'm thinking of a running back right now. And we knew he was thinking about Leonard Fournette. They put all their eggs in the basket at Leonard Fournette this year because they're going to lose Alfred Blue. They're going to lose Jeremy Hill to the draft. Kenny Hilliard's going to return, and Terrence McGee. Those are your 2 running backs next year. And I tell you one thing, Leonard Fournette would start over Kenny Hilliard or Terrence McGee on day 1. And at receiver, Malachi Dupree is the #1 receiver in the country. He's at John Curtis right now. He can jump out the gym. Brandon Harris is going to be your quarterback next year. Anthony Jennings out of Georgia is going to be your starting quarterback next year. Brandon Harris is coming out of Shreveport, is an early signee. He'll be there in January. So Anthony Jennings, watch next year. They're going to do a lot more read option next year. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot with Cam Cameron. And those kind of games like this one on Saturday could affect recruiting big time because there's 4 big-time names right now, actually 5 if you count Hootie Jones out of Neville, that could all go to LSU if they win a game like this. And the other 2 are Speedy Noyle and Gerald Willis, both out of Carr, though Noyle might be a heavy lean to Texas A&M because Noel Ellis is there right now, and that's one of his former teammates.
Tyrone, you went through the recruiting process. You shunned Tulane. You shunned LSU. You went to the University of Nebraska. Now, I know it was a long time ago, but your thoughts on can a game like this, with again, when players have it down to LSU and Alabama, can this game make a difference in recruiting?
It can make a difference somewhat, Eric, but overall, most guys at this stage of the game, they know where they want to go. Regardless of who wins, they still know where they want to go. If I already had Alabama set in my mind, whether they won or lost this game, I'm going to still go to Alabama. If I had LSU set in my mind, I'm going to still go to LSU. So the game, most of the time to a recruit, isn't going to be, because it's one game. You know, you're going to look at how have they done throughout the season. What are they offering me on my recruiting trip? You know, what are they going to offer me academically? So the game itself isn't going to be a major factor in their decision because it's probably already made. As it pertains to Leonard Fournette and going to LSU, everybody's always asking me because I'm a St. Augustine alumni. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you this. It's not just between Alabama and LSU. I do know that.
Florida State's in the mix now. We hear that. I mean,
and it's not just Florida State.
Well, do tell.
I don't know. I'm just saying there's other schools out there that he is considering. Because one of the things I talked to him about, and even just guys and kids in general that I'm training, you don't have to go to college and be a starter as a freshman. It would be great to do, but if you don't think that it's a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with redshirting. Redshirting actually helps you because one thing it does, it helps you get along in your books, but it also helps you understand the system so that when you come back in the springtime, you're still a freshman, but you have an understanding of what's going on. Those guys who are a year ahead of you are now basically maybe gone or have another year gone ahead of you. So where you're a freshman, then come your sophomore year, those guys are gone. You are the man. And you basically getting the same thing you would have gotten had you starting as a freshman. But one thing about it is, you look at LSU, you look at Alabama, you go in trying to play as a freshman, you're going to share the ball. You redshirt, I'm just saying as a Leonard Fournette, you redshirt, let those guys get another year ahead of you, now you become the man.
keys to the game, Garland, for an LSU victory. The games have been close. But yet, this is a different animal. The LSU defense is not what it once was. They do have a prolific offense, but we do know that Saban in the past has been able to take away the strength of an offense. Both teams have had 2 weeks to prepare. As I mentioned last week, that's good news for LSU, but that's bad news for LSU because that means Saban gets a second week. What are your thoughts on Saturday?
The defensive line has been fantastic for LSU for numerous years now. Anthony Freak Johnson, O'Perry Walker grad, he was one of the top 5 recruits in the country. I'm still waiting for him to have that game. That defensive line has got to step up. Ego Ferguson, Jamario Rasco, they need to make this their game of the year for themselves because right now, Anthony Johnson, I know that he has the height, the weight, he's got everything that the NFL wants.
All the measurables.
Yeah, but he just hadn't performed this year. He hasn't performed, you probably say, most of his career at LSU.
Mind you, a little bit of Sam Montgomery last year, really not really stepping up and playing as people thought he would when it was his time to shine.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed in the defensive line. The linebacking core hasn't stepped up. Quan Alexander is going to be a star.
Oh, yeah.
But the linebackers, obviously, Minter in the middle has really hurt them. And the DBs, I guess you could almost say I have a problem with the whole defense because they're young all over, and they just haven't. I mean, Craig Lawson is a fifth-year senior. He's another 5-star recruit that LSU got, and he hasn't performed at all. Ronald Martin out of White Castle, I just disappointment all over the ball. None of this, and I think the biggest disappointment, and they keep throwing him out there, is DJ Welter, linebacker. He gets faked out every week.
Right.
So they just have problems all over that line, in linebackers and the DBs. I think that Alabama's going to expose them by air and by ground this week. I'm glad John Chavis had 2 weeks to prepare for this because they're going to be in for a tough fight.
You looking for an Alabama victory by a large margin?
No, I know the spread's 12.5 in Vegas right now, and I still think it's going to be a tight game. I still think that Alabama wins. Everything's in their favor right now. I just don't think LSU. I think LSU's destined for 3 or 4 losses because what's Johnny Manziel going to do when he gets in there after another bye? I mean, can LSU keep up with Johnny Manziel? Can they score 50 points to go up with him? Now, Zach Mettenberger in 2013 is much better than 2012 right now because of what Cam Cameron is doing. So I think that LSU can answer this week against Alabama, but I don't know if they're going to answer every single time. And I think Bama is just going to run all. I mean, TJ Yeldon is going to hit them by ground, and AJ McCarron. This might be a possibly BCS title game for AJ McCarron again.
Tyrone, what are your thoughts on this Saturday night?
From what I've seen so far, I haven't watched both teams that much this year, but the games that I've seen, and I could be wrong, but Alabama's secondary looks to be a whole lot better than what it was last year. Now, I don't know about the front 7, but that secondary looks to be a lot better. So from what I've seen, I think what Zach Mettenberger did to LSU last year, they really beat him until Les made that stupid call. But they beat him by the air. They weren't able to run him. But I think this year they may be able to run on them a little better. But of course, what do you do to stop them? Meaning, you can't take Beckham. You can't man up Beckham and the other receiver,
Jarvis Land.
Jarvis Land. You can't man them up because they're going to kill you. Mettenberger has actually shined and proven to be what everybody thought he was going to be. And Beckham has really stepped up this year. So you can't man those guys up. So that means now you're going to have seven in the box. So if you got 7 in the box, I think LSU is going to be able to run the ball on them. Having said that, Alabama is still going to come down to coaching. I give it to Alabama.
Shifting gears to the Tulane grad. I know that everybody's upset about that. Look, again, it's hard to pick LSU. You hope that this is a revenge game. You hope that this is a spoiler role for them, and you're going to get the best possible game out of them. But defensively, they just haven't proven they can stop anybody this year, and I think it's been the biggest problem. The Greenies coming off a tough loss. A lot of people felt that they should have beat Florida Atlantic. This is a pretty decent Texas San Antonio team. They're playing pretty darn good football right now. They're bowl eligible. Garland, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on the Greenies and their opportunity to be able to rebound from that loss last week.
The offense lost the game for Tulane in Boca Raton. You cannot throw 4 interceptions in a row. They were rotating Montana and Devin Powell out back and forth. Neither one of them was getting into a good flow.
That's got to end, huh? I mean, he's got to settle on a quarterback.
Well, Montana's hurt. He's had a shoulder issue for over a month now. So Curtis said on Tuesday in his press conference that he thinks that Nick Montana's further along. And this time around, he said if Nick is hot, he's not going to Powell. He's going to stick with Nick Montana this time. They got to give the ball more to Orleans Darkwa. He's a senior. He's one of their star players. I know Ryan Grant is a good receiver, but they need to focus on the ground game because you know what? A quarterback right now is just not performing. Tanner Lee, I know a lot of people want to bring up Tanner Lee's name from Jesuit. He's not ready. He's going to have the red shirt this year.
And why would you pull the red shirt off him at this point?
No, there's no reason to. I think Tanner Lee's your future. I think he's a fine quarterback out of Jesuit. I think he's going to be the starting quarterback for years to come. So offensively, just don't lose the game because you know what? You have one of the best defenses in Conference USA. You got ball hawks all over the secondary. Jordan Sullen, Doss. I love the secondary. Every week they're doing, and you can't win when they throw 4 picks in a row. Right. You're putting Tulane in a bad situation on defense, and they can't recover from that. Curtis Johnson said on Tuesday in his press conference that he recruited defense. That's what's going to win him games. That's where they put all their eggs on the defensive side of the ball, and you got to stick with the defense to win your games. Offense, don't lose it for them. Don't throw picks, and maybe safer passes.
Right.
I think this year, I mean, obviously everybody's just kind of like with the Saints defense, but Tulane as a whole, everybody's been surprised about the turnaround that Curtis Johnson has had after last season. I think one of the biggest turnarounds is the fact that now, from my understanding, Lionel Washington, even though he's a co-defensive coordinator, is the one calling the plays. And I think that's the biggest key to this defense, having his experience and his knowledge of the game. And I think these kids are actually playing for him. And as you said, their secondary, I think, is by far one of the best in the conference. So definitely.
Best in the country.
Oh, that too. Yeah. I mean,
they're really in the country at turnovers at one point.
They're being ball hawks, and they're covering their guys. I mean, they can play man-to-man also. So from what I've seen defensively, they actually have turned this. I think they're the biggest reason that the team is doing as well as they have. I looked at Montana a couple of times, and he kind of gets a little erratic from time to time. It's just sometimes he might just sling the ball out there, and I'm looking at him like, wait a minute, what's going on? You know, so I think once, maybe it's the shoulder, or once he settles in, has a clear understanding of the offense, give him next year, I think they'll do even better. But obviously this defense is the key for this team.
Davenport comes back, that would be a big key for this team. That really hurt them not having Davenport last week.
He's been a great addition to this team. I'll tell you one thing, the Bob Toledo era that's different than the Curtis Johnson era, they're getting a lot of JUCO, they're getting JUCO kids, they're getting transfers from big-time programs. Curtis Johnson's recruiting has been fantastic for the Tulane Green Wave. I know that now the talk is starting to be, how long do you keep Curtis Johnson? Because he's starting to recruit well, getting guys like Davenport to finish this new program where you can graduate and do the graduate degree.
Do your fifth year.
Yeah, and Davenport's going to do that, and I guarantee Curtis Johnson's going to find a few more guys down the line that can do that. Curtis Johnson, if they make a run here, if they win out, they can host the Conference USA Championship game because it goes by head-to-head, and East Carolina's winning on the other side right now. They're leading with only one loss. Ullman Stadium's coming next year. That's a big recruiting effort, but bigger programs coming up. The bloodlines are there for Curtis Johnson. He coached at the U, University of Miami, coached under Sean Payton.
San Diego State was able to get in and get Marshall Falk and others to be able to go out there.
He's going to be a hot commodity coming up soon. And he was pressed on Tuesday to ask if he wants to stay here in New Orleans. And he said his wife loves it here, he loves it here. And then we asked him again, well, if your wife loves it here, does that mean y'all are going to stay? And he goes, well, my wife likes a few other cities. So I tell you one thing, down the line, Conference USA's schedule this year is pretty weak. Next year they're going to go to American Athletic Conference. If he runs the table in that conference next year, get another year with this Nick Montana in the system and Devin Powell, he might not. It's going to take a lot of money to keep him. He's more worried about his assistant coaches right now. I don't know the pay scale for Tulane for assistant coaches because they're a private university, but it cannot be high. And he's worried about other teams poaching his assistant coaches. And if they cannot step forward, Rick Dixon cannot step forward with the money to save his assistant coaches, that's when Curtis Johnson can say, you know what, I think it's about time for me and my assistants to get out of here and get some more money. So definitely they're going to have to make him happy right now with money coming in, because right now they're paying a lot of money to Rick Jones, and obviously Rick Jones hasn't performed. They haven't made the tournament in 5 years, and Ed Conroy in the basketball program, they're not going to make the tournament again this year.
Let's shift gears with the final 4 or so minutes left in the program. The New Orleans Pelicans starting off a little bit slow. I've talked about this on the radio show, reminds me a little bit of a playground team right now. Guys that really don't know their roles. You've got guys that are just trying to find themselves, really kind of a lack of leadership on the court. Probably the best game they played so far was last night against Memphis. They get a victory, but again, Zach Randolph had to leave in the second quarter. That's big. A lot of that's kind of glazed over. That's big. Garland, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on where the Pelicans are. Here in England, some people wanting to call for Monty Williams' head. I mean, guys, I think it's just a little too early for that. I mean, give this team 20, 25 games. Let's see how they're going to perform. They've got to gel yet.
Yeah, Monty signed a 3-year extension in the offseason. He's going nowhere. Okay. It's 5 games in. Everybody's got to pump the brakes and calm down. Though the Pelicans right now are almost like the New York Jets. You just don't know what you're going to get from game to game right now. They're a young group of players right now. They're the youngest team in the league. I expected them to crush the Suns. They didn't do that. You expect them to lose to the Grizzlies. You know, Zach Randolph's child, his wife or his girlfriend goes into labor in the first quarter or second quarter.
Blessing in disguise for the Pelicans.
I tell you one thing, they should send a bouquet to Zach Randolph's family for that one, because the Grizzlies went to the Western Conference Finals last year. I think it's early in the year right now. I say fans don't get too excited. The Pacers are one of the best teams in the NBA. That's understandable for that loss. The Bobcats, you should destroy them, and they did. The Magic are over 500 right now, so maybe that loss isn't that bad right now.
A juggernaut at home.
Yeah, they're 2-3 right now. They got the Lakers coming to town without Kobe. They get back to 3-3. They're fine right now. It's an 82-game season. I know fans are going crazy on Twitter, on the blogs, and the message boards for Monty's head. You need to slow down. It's very early in the season. Drew Holiday's getting versed in what Anthony Davis likes, what Tyreke Evans likes. Ryan Anderson is not in the lineup yet.
Big loss.
Yes.
Big loss. Tyrone, what's your thoughts?
My thing is, again, fans understand it's a young team. You know, you got new players coming in and out. It takes time to learn to play together, to learn each other. Give Coach Monty a chance. Let him run his team. He's going to do a good job. They're going to be fine. Don't worry. The problem that I have is that you don't have anybody who has established themselves to be the leader of this team. I think Anthony Davis is going to have a breakout year. Eric Gordon, we don't know what we're going to get out of him. You know, does he want to play? Does he not want to play? Is he going to step up and be the leader or not? Tyreke Evans I know he's suffering coming off of the bench, but he's been a team player, because I think that's probably going to be your best scorer. So you have to find a way as a coach to get all of these guys involved and coddle all of these egos.
No, I would agree. And look, let me say this. I mean, again, you got Tyreke Evans in a different position coming off the bench. It's something he's never really done before. You got and the evolution of Anthony Davis has been incredible. This guy is, I mean, again, he is light years from where he's going to be, from where he was, or to where he's going to be, because he's growing every day. I'm a little disappointed Drew Holiday is not maybe getting the assist he should. I mean, again, I think he's averaging about 6 assists. He needs to get that up.
A lot more turnovers right now.
Too many turnovers. But that you got to learn how to play with. The loss of Ryan Anderson is huge, especially for that second unit right now. I think that when he comes back, you'll see a different floor spacing. And what looked like to be a donut at the center position, they played pretty well. They are blocking shots at a record rate for this team. It's just a matter of continuity. Those guys getting together, learning the system they are, getting identity of who they are, and ultimately who is going to be the leader on this team. Who at the end of the day is going to take the tough shots? Will it be Eric Gordon? Will it be Drew Holiday? Will Tyreke Evans? Anthony Davis? They got to figure that out. But I think that people just have to be patient right now and realize that this is a brand new team. Guys that are the youngest team in the NBA, average year of 24 years. They're a veteran team, but they're a young team. Let's give some time before you start calling for the general manager, the coach's head. No doubt about it. Hey, guys, thanks so much for being with us tonight. I tell you what, it does fly by, doesn't it?
No doubt. You said a few minutes ago. I'm like, really? I felt like I just sat down.
No doubt about it. Garland, thanks again. Doing a great job at Fox 8. And of course, you guys are covering all Saints wall to wall. And always a great time to have my former partner on the radio, Tyrone Hughes, with us as we talk a little Saints, Pelicans, and of course, we'll do it all over again next week, right here on WLAE TV. Remember, there's a rebroadcast of this program each and every Friday night at 10 o'clock. We're right here at 6 o'clock on a Thursday night. Also, you can catch me on the radio at 990 WGSO. Also, ericasher.com. The radio show is weekdays, 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. If you missed any of the previous episodes of this program, you go to ericasher.com and you can check out those episodes as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at Eric_Asher. Want to thank all of the WLE production staff who make this possible. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, also Donovan Joseph, my producer, William Hill. But most of all, thanks so much for watching New Orleans, and we'll do it all over again at 6 o'clock right here on Thursday night on WLEE TV. Good night.
Inside New Orleans Sports is underwritten by the Union Capital Corporation and the Talls Air Conditioning.